Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX. I'm Rishabh Gulati. On the 20th of October 1920, Lala Raghubir Singh set up a school in Daryaganj in New Delhi with just 6 students. One of the first few was an individual named Khushwant Singh. 100 years have now gone today, and the modern schools are celebrating their centenary anniversary. Through the course of 100 years, in the service of this country, from the armed forces to the arts to the sciences to the media to the judiciary and jurisprudence to the civil services and to politics, in every field, there has been extensive contribution. You pick sports, whether it is cricket, in golf and in tennis, you will find people who are emerged from this school and its halls that have done service to this country. In this special telecast over the next 60 minutes, we have the proud privilege of putting together some of these very fine individuals who are products of modern school, and we are covering 6 decades from the 1950s all the way into the 2000s, all represented on this panel tonight. Let me begin by introducing everyone. We have with us Lieutenant General Shankar Prasad, a modern school man in service for all his life. He is from Modern Barakamba batch of 1959. Sayyida Hamid ji, former member of the Planning Commission. She is from Modern School Barakamba Road batch of 1960. Dr. Radha Kumar, who is an author and policy analyst. Many people on television remember her as the J&K interlocutor. She is Modern Barakamba batch of 1969. Sundar Hemrajani, who is the former chairman of the Modernites Trust from the Modern School Barakamba batch of 1972. Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul, he is a sitting judge in the Supreme Court of India. He is from the batch of 1976. Dr. Sunita Narayan, who is the Director General of the CSE, she is from the batch of 1980. Gaurav Ghai, Asian Tour winning golfer, and I think 3-time Asian Tour winning golfer, from the batch of 1986. Vineet Sareen, who is the President of the Modern School Old Students Association that has helped put this together, batch of 1987. Gautam Gambhir, joining us in just a bit, now MP Lok Sabha and of course a cricketer, batch of 2000. And we also have the principal of Modern School Barakamba Road, Dr. Vijay Datta, joining us on the broadcast. Dr. Datta, of course, the ceremony that has been held on the grounds of the school today has been not what was initially planned. But what would you like to say to the large family of students, of parents, of teachers, of staff, past and present, and to the country at large, sir, about this centenary?
Well, we started full steam. We had the Centenary Sports Day in which all the 5 schools came in together and put up a grand show. But then came the pandemic. That struck us really hard, but the show must go on. That's what the trustees decided. I am grateful to the Board of Trustees for deciding and planning it so very well. We have spread it out in multiple ways, the visual celebration, the lights on the campus of the building that people have been thronging in, have been coming in to see for so many days, and it will continue. There was a little interruption because of this program that we had this evening. We had to ask our old students and people of Delhi to stop coming in for a short while, but today again we have opened the gates after 7 p.m. and there are a lot of people coming in the grounds outside, in the front lawns as we call it, and are viewing the lights and all the decorations that have been prepared here, that have been put up on the school building. We had this function this evening, which I believe, though I haven't been able to see, I have not been able to see, but you covered really well. I think it went off really well. It was meticulously planned by the Board of Trustees again. This morning we had a tree plantation drive. We had the centenary tree plantation through the day. Our students were engaged in various contests. There was a quiz on modern. There was a lot of creative activities that went on through the day. There were a lot of contests. So the students have been busy online. And then, of course, evening we had the show, and here I am talking to you.
Okay, let me quickly get in Vineet Serene in his capacity as president of Masosa. Vineet ji, as of course the plans that were there have not come forth, but there are plans going further ahead. Now that the day has come and we are on its eve, 100 years of modern school is represented by the large family and the large service that this family has done to this country. How is it to be remembered?
Well, first of all, let me begin by thanking you, Rishabh, and NewsX for giving due coverage to a very graceful ceremony we had this evening in our school premises. You've been giving us a lot of support, so I thank you very much for that. Well, it is indeed a very momentous occasion, and heading the association of 17,000 Modernites who are spread over the globe, and which is 63 years old. It's really a rare privilege and honor for me. And I would say that, the kind of activities Masosa is, engaged in is really for a very noble cause. We are supporting the meritorious students from underprivileged sections of society. We are also providing Guru Dakshina purses as a mark, or as a kind of a symbol of our gratitude to our retired teachers. And we're also providing, we've created a corpus about a couple of years back. It's called the Guru Pranam Corpus, which is essentially to take care of the emergent needs of our old and retired teachers. Plus, we have also risen in the times of the national crisis. We've been there, whether it was the Kargil war or Gujarat earthquake, or most recently the COVID-19 pandemic. So, Masosa it's a very, very active organization. I would proudly say that it is one of the most active and vibrant associations of, in our country. And I think the indomitable spirit of the Modernites keeps pushing us to do better and better. Well, this year we had very big plans to celebrate the Centenary, but of course we were hit by this misfortune of facing this COVID-19 pandemic, and everything got disrupted. But nevertheless, as I said, we are Modernites, and we will continue to push it forward. We have taken up the task of supporting the Teachers Excellence Center, which is coming up in modern school, which is not only for modern school teachers, but it is for the teachers in India as well as the South Asia region. So indeed, Masosa looks forward to better times, and we continue with our good activities.
Right. Could I invite Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul in his capacity as the current president of the Modernites Trust, sir, if you could help us understand that the work the trust has been doing and intends to do going ahead.
Well, Modernites Trust was set up by some of the senior Modernites, originally people like retired Chief Justice Prakash Narayan of the Delhi High Court and others. And the object was to, in those times, give support to the students coming from the weaker section of society. We must understand those times it was not the government-based support system which were there, and there were a very limited extent of a few scholars coming into the school. So the whole objective was for each year to take an X number of students, numbering from 3 to 6, and support them through the 6th to the 11th as used to exist, and now the 12th, and let them get an opportunity. And that's something which has been carrying on, and the change which has occurred is my predecessor Sundar Himrajani expanded the horizon of this to include not only students going through the school, but also providing further support to them in their dreaming endeavor of trying to do further things. So if somebody passed out of school also and was short of financial resources to carry forward his dreams, support systems are given. Also for students who are at the moment in the school and who are scholars, further facilities in the form of laptop and other things are given. Today, we've given everything which is there because the whole technology has to be used only for this purposes. And we also give support systems to the students where the student may require assistance in a particular subject or a particular purpose. The gratifying part, I think, has been that some of the scholars have come back to support the trust, adopt scholars, and also give time to the scholars to see how better they can understand their dreams and how better they can understand what they require from the trust. So it's a continuing effort, and I've also been associated for more than a decade with the trust. And for the time being, we hope to carry on the good work Sundar has put in.
Well, on that note, let me get in Sundar Hemrajani, who is now the outgoing president of the Modernites Trust. Sundarji, if you could just put that into perspective for us, many years of work of the trust.
Well, yes, thanks, Rishabh. And I think, where I would start is the founder's vision. See, he set up a school which had to go beyond the obvious from the formal education. And, community outreach was a part of that. And we have internal stakeholders, the students, the teachers, the staff and karamcharis. And but there is a community which we serve, and the scholarship program which Sanjay spoke about was started in 1983, and really the purpose of the trust at that time was to support this program. And however, I can tell you that getting funds for causes like this is not difficult. I think the difficult work is performed by Dr. Datta and his team of committed teachers who really nurture these students, they mentor these students and really bring them up to speed. And some of them, as Sanjay pointed out, have done so well that we've supported them even after passing out of school under a program called Dare to Dream program. And it's so gratifying to see the potential is there. I wish we could do more. It's really a drop in the ocean. The second part of our program under the Modernites Trust is focused on the retired teachers. And this program started in 1997, where we started honoring retired teachers, and till date we have honored close to 55 teachers. There is a bit of a financial award which goes along with the honor, and but they come back to the school, they feel so good about it. And a few years back, we started a program called Guru Pranam, where we have a lot of good Modernites doctors, and most of them are in Delhi, some of them are abroad, and they actually offered that they are willing to look after the teachers, they're willing to treat them and offer their diagnostic services.
Right.
Dr. Arvind Lal is not here, Dr. Naveen Dang, they have the reputed laboratories, and they're all Modernites. And so we are trying to support the retired teachers, now, apart from the students from the weaker sections of the society.
Okay. Well, I think with that opportunity...
Rishabh, just to complete that.
Yes,
the objective is to create a virtuous cycle, where some of these students go back and come back and support. They do well in life, they come back and support the scholarship program. Well, and that's the point which I think Sanjay also...
Okay, well, point well made. Now let's really kick this off. General Prasad, you and I speak often on television, but here we are. I had an opportunity to interview you earlier in the year regarding your time at Modern School. For a larger public watching out there, sir, leaving school straight to join up in the army in the late 50s, was it, sir?
That's right, in December 58.
So what was it like, sir? I'm 2003 batch, so that puts a bit of perspective to our viewers of the scale represented here. What was it like, sir? Because we've had people from Modern School have fought in uniform across the services, and many, of course, I think pretty much in every war and died for the country. I had Sonam Wangchuk with us. He, of course, fought in Kargil. I interviewed him just a month or so ago. What was it like, sir, at that point of time about the school?
Rishabh, I want to make an observation which I have done lately in the last couple of months, if I may say, as to how is it, this question has always been in my mind, how is it that Modern School has people reaching the top of their profession in whatever profession they are in today, whether it is judiciary, where we have Supreme Court judges, we have Chief Justices, we have eminent people like Sayyada sitting as the members of the Planning Commission, we have Sunita and hosts of them. So wherever the people have reached the top, I find them to be Modernites. How is it that Modernites reach the pinnacle of the career that they choose? And this is the question that has been coming into my mind. And I said, let me find out as to how this happens. You see, many parents at the time when we were at school used to say, "Bhai, engineer ban jao, doctor ban jao, ye padho, wo padho, zabardasti karo." So lately you would find that the children are given an opportunity to do what they want to do. If they're good in arts and painting, they'll be encouraged to do that. If they're good in music, they'd be encouraged to do that. If they're great in games, they'd be permitted to do that. So how is it that today the modern school thing is visible after 100 years, that people have risen to the top positions because the modern school pushed them into the area where they had the acumen to achieve the superiority or the best? I would give you a little example as to my mind, and Dr. Datta may want to correct me. I was thinking as to how does this happen, and I found that it is the housemaster system which Lalaji found out. And if I am right, Lalaji went to England when he was setting up the school, and he perhaps went to Eton, and he found at Eton there is a house system, and there is a housemaster, and the housemaster is the link which controls the child's growth. I bring it back to Delhi to the modern school, and he brought that idea perhaps from there. I can't be sure, but seems like that was the only school at that time when we started in 1920 of a house system.
Right.
And what role does the housemaster play? The housemaster is an agency between the teachers who are teaching, whether physics, chemistry, mathematics, history, economics, or whether it's the parents, or whether it's the principal. So the housemaster played a sterling role in finding out as to what exactly is the potential of this child. They found out from the teachers as to how he was doing. They interacted with the parents quite often. They interacted in the house functions, invited them to dinner. He perhaps briefed the principal as to how this child is doing, what are his interests.
General, that's fascinating, because a person like me, it is so ubiquitous, the house system now, that one can't imagine an era when it did not exist.
Rishabh, I feel that Dr. Datta would be better to illustrate on this, that this is where modern school is different from other schools.
Okay, I will pick his
career. And I must tell you my own story just in about 30 seconds, as 30 seconds is what the television gives you, is that Mr. Kapoor called me one day after the assembly and said, I think you should go to the NDA. I hadn't the foggiest idea as to how and why I should go to the NDA. And the rest is history. And after that, every time I came to Delhi, whether I was a captain, major, up to the rank of brigadier till he was alive, he interacted with me each time to just see how the progress is going. So the point I want to make today on this 100 years of a centenary, to see that what is so great about modern school, how does it identify the potential of a child and grooms him towards that to achieve excellence.
Okay. Saida ji, looking back, ma'am, at your time in school, both at the fond memories and at 100 years, I was in school during the Platinum Jubilee celebrations. That was 25 years ago now. What is it, ma'am? Do you ever introspect that how is it that across so many fields, you had an illustrious career in public service, ma'am? What is the lesson learned here?
Rishabh, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with old friends and new friends, and what is now to me the next generation. So having said that, Rishabh, what modern school gave me was values. It gave me the quest for life. It gave me goodness. It gave me vision. And I have many people to recall tonight, beginning from, of course, Lalaji, who we commemorated, Khushwantji and I, when we wrote our book, A Dream Turned 75.
Yes.
And you will be seeing that book updated in the centenary year. And for that, I had to do a lot of research, and Khushwantji was right by my side, encouraging me. Though, again, there were generations, like history has repeated itself. Me and Khushwant, and now me and all these young people, Vineet and Gaurav, and this is wonderful. This is really great. I'm glad I'm alive to see this. But it was that inspiration, and those were very difficult days when they decided to set up this kind of school in Daryaganj. I never saw Miss Bose, but I had the privilege of growing and being honed by M.N. Kapoor. M.N. Kapoor and Amrita Kapoor were my role models when I started out. And I must tell you that I only spent just over 4 years in the school. And I must also add that you said that I have an illustrious public service career, but I don't remember a happier time of my life than those 4.5 years in modern school. Then there were personalities like Mr. Ved Vyas, Mr. Kanwal Krishna, Devyani Krishna, Uma Sahai, and there was Narinder Sharma and Jayanti Sharma. I can keep on. And these were people who taught us to think like we were, there was, the identity part was we were just kids in a school, we were in a co-ed school, there was a whole respect for gender during my, when we reached the top class, in a school with about 400 boys and about 40 girls, there were 3 girls then who became prefects. So the whole gender thing, which now has become such a big issue, at that time, those people of vision had that sense. I was a Muslim. I was never made to feel anything but just part and parcel of what is this wonderful country, this composite culture. And if there was any slight disruption in that, if there was any crack in that, that edifice, there was Mr. Kapoor, there was Mr. Ved Vyas, and there was people like Uma Sahai. They were like, they applied a soothing hand to ruffled nerves and to us whenever we had any anguish within our heart. And I must just, one more sentence, I don't know how much time we have.
No, ma'am, please go ahead, finish your thought.
The beauty of it was that academic was very important, but we were also dancing, we were singing, we were doing theater, we were doing art, and that was what made us whole personalities. And today, if I have achieved anything, I can say it very honestly to you, Rishabh, and to all my friends and the young people sitting around, that I really owe a large part of it to the vision of modern school, to the vision of its founders.
Ma'am, you put it very, very poetically. Really appreciate it. Dr. Radha Kumar, ma'am, looking back and looking ahead.
Well, thank you so much for including me in this wonderful event. And it's wonderful to see all these old and new faces. When I think back to modern school, I have to say, perhaps I was a rather subversive student. I certainly was a student who tried to be below the radar. I tended to avoid my teachers and principals and housemasters, but I learned a great deal from my peers. And if I think of the top memories of my 6 years at modern school, I started at the junior school and then spent the next 5 years at the senior school and graduated from there. The first, of course, memory is how beautiful the Barakamba Road campus was. What a joy it was every day to go into that campus, and how different it was as a campus from every other school that you saw in Delhi, with its wonderful green lawns and the red brick buildings. My second big memory is of how much I enjoyed doing small transgressions. For example, being next to Bengali market, taking the time always to somehow run off through the back gate and have some chaat, at least twice a week. The indulgence of the gatekeeper, who knew that children needed those little outlets for themselves. There was a very liberal atmosphere on campus, even for us somewhat disobedient students. I always felt at home, and I felt encouraged to both engage with my classes and, more even than that, engage with my peers, and to find little projects of my own, whether it was in the arts or whether it was in writing. That kind of activity always seemed to have a space in this school. It's only later now, looking back, that I realize how unusual that was. A few later events that reminded me of the school and what I had learned. I remember in my 20s and 30s traveling in Orissa and Bihar. And though I had hated the way my Sanskrit teacher taught us Sanskrit, to be able to decipher and interpret for myself the Magadha kingdom inscriptions, I still remember it so vividly, 40 years later. What a wonderful, wonderful joy that was.
Well,
and finally, to end, I remember being drawn by my friends into the editorial team of the journal, the Sandesh, in our fifth year in S5. And again, what fun we had. There was a young Englishman, my friend and counselor of that time, Firoz Chandra, was reminding me. There was a young Englishman who was attached to the school to help us with more creative literature-related activities. And he created this new editorial group for the Sandesh and gave us a free hand. The school gave us a room. It was like, a very early little experiment with journalism. So there we were, all, editors in this little room discussing what we would be bringing out in the next month's would be the editorial focus, how would we approach the theme. We did an issue on Shakespeare's anniversary, and then we did another one for Founders' Day. Firoz was reminding me of how we had approached Founders' Day and the kinds of stories of old boys and girls that we had managed to assemble
and
into the Sunday magazine. So, thank you.
And I promise you that, a few decades later, I've also gone through the Sandesh process, and here one is. Dr. Sunita Narayan, ma'am. Yeah, Dr. Sunita Narayan, ma'am. Looking back, so many years, but I think for the 6 or 7 decades that is represented here, what is your thought today, ma'am, on the centenary?
Shab, I was thinking, and I was hearing everybody, and I was thinking of what made modern school really so special. And, for me, I came to modern after I had been in a convent for most of my life, and I came to modern for my last 4 years. So I wasn't in modern for too long, and you can imagine the cultural shock coming from a convent to modern school. But I think when I think back on it and I think about what modern really gave me, I think modern gave me that level of confidence and fearlessness. And I think that's, to me, the real, if I was to epitomize what does modern school stand for, some people can call it brashness, but I don't think it's brashness, because when I think back and I think of a lot of people from the school, it's confidence, it's brashness with empathy, which really means it's confidence. And it's about getting a sense of fearlessness, a sense of the value that if you're right, you need to go out there and to do what you need to do in the world. And, I often get asked this, Rishabh, that, when we take on very controversial issues, and, I get asked this saying, but don't you get scared? Don't you get worried about these things? And when I'm hearing everyone today, I'm sort of thinking back and thinking, well, that's really what gives me, what has grounded me. It has given me this internal sense of self-confidence that, we need to do what we do. We need to do it with absolute conviction, with the passion that it deserves, and with fearlessness. And I'm using this word again and again because I think it is very important and very treasured for somebody like me.
Okay.
And I think that's why, for me, modern is so important and will remain so important in all our lives.
Okay, so we're just looking at this panel. Vineet, I just see you. Let me just quickly get Gaurav back into this conversation. You're looking at people from the judiciary, people from the armed forces, right here in this panel. And let's get in Gaurav Ghai, who has won the Asian Tour 3 times over in golf. Gaurav ji, looking back at school.
Thanks, Rishabh, for having me on this very special day. True Modernites bleed blue and celebrate modern every day, but 100 years is a very, very special occasion. And I want to congratulate everyone associated with the school for this, especially Dr. Datta for organizing such a great celebration today in the evening, which I was very fortunate to be a part of. I don't speak to you as regularly as General Saab. So, I had also put down 1 or 2 points thinking what made modern so special. And I think both those points were covered by General Saab and Sundarji. In, just a small thing. I think not just the housemaster system that we heard of. I think the principals who have led this institution had a knack of finding an out-of-the-box way to get to the pulse of what each student required. A small example, when I was in school, one of my closest friends was one of the more adventurous guys in school. And when we got to the 12th, Mr. Bakshi, who was our principal, called me because I was, the sports prefect. And he said, Gaurav, what do you think of this guy as the discipline prefect? And I just kept looking at him. And after a minute, I said, I think that's a fantastic idea. So, things like this, you would never expect in any other school other than modern. That, totally out of the box thinking. And then, think something that Sundarji said about their new vision of dare to dream. I mean, I think something like that applies to me more than anybody. When I started playing golf, it was not a cool thing. It was supposed to be an old man's game and all that. And in 1983, I was the youngest finalist of the All India Amateur. And after 9 holes, I'm walking down to the 10th tee and I suddenly look over my shoulder and Mr. Bakshi is walking in the gallery. And, I don't know whether I was more nervous about the final or more nervous seeing him in the gallery.
Right.
But it was these little, acts of encouragement and support that actually gave us all the courage to dream, and believe that we could do what we set out to achieve.
Well, thank you for giving us proud examples to follow for a lot of people. I think, let's open this up. I think Viniji wanted to make a point, then let's get Justice Call back into the conversation. Viniji, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. I just would like to reiterate what Dr. Surendra Narayan mentioned about, migrating from a convent. Actually, I also migrated from an Irish convent to modern. And I would say, what I realized was that modern school is a place which gave you a lot of freedom to discover yourself. And it provided a more of a holistic kind of education, in the true sense of the word. Like it did not focus on academics. I came from an Irish school and it was very, very focused on academics. Here I realized that there's more to life, school life, than just studying. And you had so many cultural activities, sports activities, co-curricular activities. Which is why I felt it gives that kind of confidence, a kind of a finishing touch to your education in a school.
Viniji, you're bang on. I remember all the time after school, had I not done any of those things, I could not do anything in my profession right now. Wouldn't have been possible. Justice Call.
Absolutely. I feel that it makes you more worldly wise and street smart to face any
No, true that. Justice Call, Justice Call, I asked you the formal question, sir. Now looking back, you have really fond memories. I know I had a chance to have a long conversation with you one day. Please share them with us. Justice, if you can hear us. Yeah, just unmute yourself, sir, please. There'll be a microphone on your screen, which is red. If you tap the screen, there'll be a microphone there. Just click on unmute. Yeah, we got you now. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, the electricity played a truant in my case, so I'm sorry I was off for some time. Well, I think the important part was that we had the benefit of going through, some of us, against one of the, I think, greatest educationalists I've known, Mr. Kapoor. And he has this special, feature of trying to find in each student what is special about the student. So something may not be visible to you, but that is something which a principal or a housemaster, as was said, takes out from you. So I was a reticent student, comparatively not so extroverted in character, but I was put on the stage, and I think I was a different person when that opportunity was given to me to do plays. So it helped me expand myself to including the profession. I went into law. So it's something which has helped me throughout in this process. And as one of my Chief Justices once said, I miss theatre. He said, when did you leave it at all? You came from one performance to another one when you joined as a lawyer. And when my daughter was getting admission, I was keen only of school, but then I was made to apply elsewhere and got an admission to a very prestigious convent school. And everybody said, oh, how can you let for a girl the admission go there? So, I felt that, am I missing out something? Am I really being partial to my school? So I went and stood at break time in that convent. Everything was very disciplined and everything went according to norms. Then I went and stood again, came back and went to the school, stood on the first floor and watched the students go helter-skelter from here to there and, having a great time. And I said, if I have had a great time like this, why should I deprive my daughter, because she's a girl, of living the same life which I've lived? And I think that's the important part, that it gets the best out of the student, permits you to do anything. So if you are good at something, you may do it, whether it's theatre, whether it's sports, whether it's some other field. So you can dream of doing what you wanted. Today, as it was said, we are talking about a larger canvas for people, and people are saying, oh, get back to arts, get back to other forms. It was very, very much there when we were there. And that's the holistic education. And the concept of day school, I think, was a great thing. Right. The day school did not end even at 4 o'clock. The day school went down till late in the evening for sports people and cultural people. And we used to wind up the day at times at 9 o'clock at night only to go back and do our homework and get there. So you were actually mentally and physically completely involved in the school.
Yeah, well,
it's said that Modernites wear the uniform right till the night. They don't change.
I was about to mention that. I remember going home and having dinner in my uniform because one left school after dark and you had to beg and plead someone to pick you up and take you home. Sundarji, like I said, I asked you the formal question, sir, looking back now at school.
Well, I think first let me, clarify what Gaurav said. He used a word called adventurous. In modern school language, adventurous means spend more time outside the classroom than inside the classroom. And most of it in Bengali market. The only time you change the uniform.
May I point out that the principal, that the sitting principal is sitting here.
In fact, sir, I was half expecting a bun samosa at the high tea tonight.
So, but having said that, see, like Sanjay said, he was reticent. You see, I was an introvert, and I was an introvert, and I won't speak to anyone. I mean, if a girl said hello, I will die. I mean, it was like that. And it's modern school which helped me. It really helped me. And today, when I look at these positions, like president of Masosa or Modernites Trust.
No, but we've only spoken about Modernites Trust. You've had a long career yourself. You've run very large, incidentally, media organizations. What's the lesson here learned? And your children are not shy. I'm writing a tweet at the bottom of the screen. They're saying 3 proud Himrajani boys is going at the bottom of my screen. I'm presuming that's one of yours.
I mean, they see, both my boys, studied in modern, and that was out of choice. I mean, there was no way they were going anywhere else. And so as far as I'm concerned, modern has done a lot for me. And to me, when I look back, I feel that this is a time to give back. And I spend a lot of time in the school. I'm now a member of the Board of Trustees. And for me, these are platforms to give back to the school, to the community. And I think
no doubt. Thank you for that. Some of you guys have been around since I was in school, and here I am sitting with you. It's a real privilege. seeing you around in school then as a student. General Prasad, please go ahead.
So I just wanted to say one thing that, Sayada and Vineet and they just said that they've been in school for 4 years. It reminded me that I joined the modern school in 1948, early 48. And if I am not incorrect, Mr. Kapoor also joined the school perhaps in the end of 47 or 48. Therefore, Mr. Kapoor and I and our batch started the school together. And I finished the school in 58. My classmates passed out in 59. And I remember the days when we had kindergarten school, KG school, where we had lower KG and upper KG, which was next to the principal's house. And it so happened that the principal's daughter, who was our age group, was also in our class, Geeta. And often we'd walk into the principal's house as little children. And it used to be something like a home we were in. Anyway, that's something that I still cannot forget. And sitting under the banyan tree in our KG school was a great experience, which none of them can ever forget. But what I wanted to take on was what Sunita said of fearlessness. One thing that modern school taught us, whether we learned it inadvertently or seriously, was अगर ये काम करना है ना तो इसको अब करना ही है चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए. Sunita does it so often, and you would see in the armed forces, you would find people flying fighter planes and saying अब तो इस काम को मुकम्मल करना ही है. And I've been through this experience many times myself during the 62, during the 71, during the wars that I've been through, particularly 1971 when I was a young major. And a critical time came in my life in the war that अब नहीं करा तो बेटा कब नहीं करोगे और अगर नहीं करोगे तो यही मरोगे, अब तो करना ही है. This is the kind of attitude, this is the kind of value system that I don't know how modern school put into us.
Right.
कि अब तो यहाँ पहुँचना ही है भैया, चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए. That is something
I can so totally relate in a stressful profession.
That's why we've had 2 air chiefs. We've had CNCs in the Navy. We had CNCs in the Army. We've had decorated MVCs because अब तो करना ही है ये.
Okay.
So
okay.
That's the kind of
General. Okay. I think several people want to make a quick point. Dr. Kumar and I think Sayyadi ji after that. Dr. Kumar, go ahead, ma'am.
I just had a very small memory that started, which is, I don't know how many of you were in school in 1964, but do you remember, 1965, but do you remember we had to dig trenches? It was part of our sense of being part of the larger community of India, and it was wartime. And so our principal and our teachers said to us, well, now we have to go and dig trenches because Delhi is being bombed.
My father was in school, your batch, 69, so he would remember that. Sayyada ji, go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, are you referring to me?
Yes. Yeah. Ma'am, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to make, I think, two small points. One is about, Shankar talked about karna hai to karna hai aur jo kaam ka irada kiya, absolutely right. And I agree. But remember, we were brought up on songs like Aman ke hum rakhwale, sab ek hain, hum zulm se ladne wale, sab ek hain. These words resonate in our mind when we go out and we take on big issues. These words resonate in our mind, and I just want to add one more memory which I think is very important, and that is in our assembly we had Sarv Dharm Prarthana, and no matter what was our religious affiliation, what caste, what class, we were in tune with that Sarv Dharm sentiment that really, in a sense, made us a cohesive lot, did not fragment us. I think that's a very important lesson modern school taught.
I think it's a good point made. Let's get Dr. Datta back in. Dr. Datta,
Yes.
we will run away in nostalgia, but you have the privileged as well as the onerous position of charting the path ahead.
Absolutely.
What's on the anvil, sir?
Well, it's just taking the baton forward because there's so many good systems that have been talked about here. So strengthening them, one of them, of course, is the house mastership that has been talked about. with a school having a large component of a day school also, it is pretty unique, which I felt almost everyone briefly talked about. Now, boarding and house masterships, I believe very strongly in, because the housemaster builds the personality of a student, and the system is very strong in the school. Our house functions, our house activities are really something that is very unique. The house functions of those who have seen all along and in the recent past would vouch for what I'm saying. The school continues until late in the evening. So yes, they don't get time. They play in the same kit. I've seen that many a times when you talk of not changing. There are multiple activities through the day. That makes modern very unique. The same student is good at academics, is also doing a play, also plays for the school football. So this is truly holistic, where the best in every child is found and built upon. I think that's what the strength of modern school is. And of course, like talked about, along with the EWS, we have been having scholarship programs, which is additional and makes the school very unique. It is not just the EWS, but also the scholarships that have been given out.
Right.
Now, self-realization cannot be achieved by the weak-willed. It is so well ingrained in every student, and that's how they go and have this kind of a determination, and they believe in a difficult right rather than the easier wrong, which have been talked about. General Saab also talked like Madam Sunita Narayan did. So the school has the best of everything. It has the co-ed component, it has the boarding, it has a day-come boarding kind of a thing, I would say, because through the day, the students are here. Well, one thing I would like to add, that the canteen probably has become better than before, so they don't need to go out to Bengali market so often.
I think that's the message to the current students. That's the message to the current students, because I'm sure they'll be watching. Okay, Justice Kaul, go ahead, sir. And then we have 10 minutes. I'll come back to everyone before we close. Justice Kaul, go ahead, sir.
Yes, I'm only saying I would tend to disagree with the principal, because the pleasure of going there outside the campus has its own charm. I would only say this. I think what everybody said, one of the most important aspects was, if you believe in something and you believe that is correct, you are supposed to stand by it and implement it. So when I went as Chief Justice to one of the states, I faced a little difficult problem. And I told them, look, you can argue with me, you can reason with me, I'll agree. If you think you can push me, I'm a very obstinate man. So the press also labeled me as a guy who can be very obstinate in character. Well, you can call it obstinacy, or you can call it as somebody who feels that what he's doing is right and must stick by it. As Sayalji said, or Sunita said, if we believe this is right, we will all stick by it and do it. And I think that's the fundamentals I put.
That's how I will not push you, neither push you, nor argue with you.
I think he's missing Bengali market during the lockdown.
I know, I can see that.
Okay, Sunita ji, ma'am, for students right now, not to make Dr. Datta's life more difficult, but for students right now, not only in modern school, but generally, what would you say to them, ma'am?
Rishabh, you're asking me?
Yes, Sunita ji, yes.
I think just live your dream. To me, that is the most important thing. And I think that's what modern gave us. I mean, I really believe I got the best of both worlds. I got the convent, and it did give me enormous values, and it grounded me in its own way. And I won't wish to have it different. And I think modern gave me the ability to live my values.
Well, ma'am,
I think that's very well said. Live your values. Gaurav ji.
Yeah.
Best of both the worlds, but best of all the worlds, I would say.
Gaurav, help. Could you just jump in? What is it? What is the X factor there?
I'm reminded of something I read, which was written by Albert Einstein. He said, education is what is left after you forget everything that you've learned in the classroom. And I think, modern, all of us have a bit of that in us. So, for me, that is the essence of modern school.
Right. General Prasad, your thoughts to students today, sir. I know I've done a lovely series with you, which we are playing out at 10 o'clock. which is more instructional in nature. But what would your suggestion be to students both within modern and without, sir?
Rishabh, the first point I want to make is that this is one school which enables you to do a holistic development of a child. And the cultural bit that the modern school tells you is something that I experienced in my life. For over 40 years, I did a disciplined military life, which you thought of nothing else but military, and military. And once I retired, can you believe it, I got into making a film called Laksh. And in the Laksh movie, I was a military consultant for that movie, and one song, which is the title song, Ab to ye karke dikhana hai, ye laksh ko pura karna hai. I think most of you must have seen this movie, and this is the title song. This song reminded me of what modern school taught me, कि अब तो ये करके दिखाना है, इस लक्ष्य को पूरा करना है. ये लक्ष्य का title song है. The modern school may take a little bit of credit out of this because of giving us a holistic development and enabling us to do not only what we did in our career as professionals, but also switch on to cultural activities which came after 44 or 45 years of leaving the school.
Well,
that is the essence.
Well, next time we'll get Shekhar Kapoor and Sohela Kapoor into the panel with us. So Sundarji, your thoughts going ahead now for the students. I know you're still involved practically, but what would your message be?
Well, I would say, see, modern was the embodiment of the forward-looking mind. I think looking back now, if all of us have seen how the world has changed in the last 6 months. I think we are living in an era of continuous change, and my message to the students would be, embrace that change.
Right.
The education doesn't stop in the classroom. It starts there. And I think you should keep in touch with what's happening around the world and keep pace with that change. And that's what I'm trying to do even at this age.
All of us are. Dr. Radha Kumar, your message to the students, ma'am.
Well, thinking back to my time, I would say that I would really love it if the students of today could remember that this school was founded in the spirit of a kind and inclusive nationalism, the spirit of working for people, not for ideologies. And that to me remains one of the most important elements today. The other thing, of course, I'd say is don't forget to go to Bengali market and be a
Dr.
little
Datta disagrees. There's a CCTV now on the back gate, which wasn't there when you were in school, ma'am. Sorry. Sayyida ji, ma'am, your thought to students today, ma'am.
Okay, you're really out of time, Rishabh, so I'll be very brief. Modern school taught me to read and to enjoy literature. So I'll just quote 2 lines from a poet who's influenced my life. It's an Irish poet, W.B. Yeats, and I think that is the message I would like to give to this new generation of students. Do not go gentle into that good night. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage against the dying of the light. So if the light dies, as people who have been honed by the stalwarts of modern school, we do not just go gently, submissively. We rage and we make ourselves heard against injustice of any kind.
Okay. Vinny ji, your last thoughts. I'll leave the last word with the principal, sir.
Yeah, I would say that, to the students that enjoy the privilege and the rare honor of studying in a school like modern. Value it, enjoy it. And once you actually pass out, you realize what kind of a privilege you have being a modernite. Because you go anywhere in the world, you will find modernites. And if you run into a modernite, and if you run into any trouble, rest assured, help is there. So it's a great privilege. And I think, all students should value this education they receive at modern and, thereafter being modernites.
Well, the last word should always be with the principal, maybe not on Bengali market. I think that last word might just be with the students. But Dr. Datta, your last thoughts, sir.
Well, we are doing a great job, I think. With the guidance of the Board of Trustees, I think we are on an upward gradient. And all I have to say to the students, to everybody, to the entire modern fraternity, keep up the good work, maybe go peak to peak, and keep doing well, keep the flag flying high.
My thanks to all of you who have taken out time, and some of you literally have sat here for this entire hour with us. Some of you have spent before this right in school, so the day has gone on this in a very difficult time as it is, all at moment's notice. And this is very, very telling, both for students out there today, that getting out there, doing your things is what makes all these people sitting here successful. And perhaps that's an education institution building. It's been a proud privilege that I could sit with all the people that you read about and thought about and interviewed when I was in school and working as chief editor of the Sandesh. And here I am sitting and getting to listen to them. And maybe that allows for introspection, even on mediums like mine, that sometimes it's good to listen. So here's wishing Modern School and its entire family a very happy centenary. It is without doubt an institution in keeping to the service of the country in every single field that you can think of, in the past, in the present, and for sure in the future. Have a very good night.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.